Hello there, you're watching Al24 News live from our headquarters in Algiers. Coming up next in our World News program. The UK Foreign Office said in a statement it has information that the Russian government is planning to install a pro-Russian leader in Kiev as it considers whether to invade and occupy Ukraine. Plus, according to the rebels and aid organization, the death toll from a Saudi-led coalition bombing in a prison operated by Yemen's Houthi rebels has risen to at least 82 inmates. Also coming up in our World News program, Ethiopia's military is planning to enter Mekelle, the capital of Tigray province, in an attempt to eliminate rebellious forces there. A top military official says as diplomatic efforts are underway to end a persisting conflict in the northernmost flashpoint. And Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern announced that New Zealanders are set to face new COVID-19 restrictions after 9 cases of the Omicron variant were detected in a single family that flew to Auckland for a wedding earlier this month. Thank you for joining us. According to a ministerial statement, Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Community Abroad, Ramtan Lamamra, affirmed Saturday that President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, intends to propose a date combining, quote, the historical national symbolism and the Arab dimension for the holding of the Arab Summit in Algiers. Lamamra spoke in an audience granted at the ministry's headquarters to the ambassadors of Arab countries accredited to Algeria in a consultation meeting coming within the framework of periodic meetings with the diplomatic corps. This meeting was an opportunity to, quote, inform the Arab ambassadors on the efforts made by Algeria for the strengthening of the joint Arab action in order to implement an Arab security system with all its dimensions.
The head of the Algerian diplomacy spoke during an audience granted at the headquarters of the ministry to ambassadors of Arab countries accredited in Algeria as part of a consultation meeting with the diplomatic corps. The latter has explained that the date of the summit has not been fixed yet, contrary to what is being said.
Contrary to the circulating fallacies under postponement of the summit, at a time when the date of its holding has not been fixed, nor any decision taken concerning it, and in accordance with the applicable measures within the framework of the Arab system, the President of the Republic considers postponing a date combining historical national symbolism and the Arab dimension, a date that enshrines the values of the common struggle and Arab solidarity.
The minister tackled the current Arab situation and the scale of the challenges facing Arab societies, particularly with regard to issues related to the coronavirus pandemic and the challenges of socio-economic development. The meeting was marked by a rich debate and positive exchange of views. The participants welcomed the practical and constructive approach adopted by Algeria for the preparation of the conditions for the success of this important Arab meeting, as well as Lamamra's tireless efforts to unify the ranks and create a climate consecrating the values of brotherhood and unity and promoting Arab action with promising prospects.
The UK Foreign Office said in a statement, quote, it has information that the Russian government is planning to install a pro-Russian leader in Kiev as it considers whether to invade and occupy Ukraine. The UK government made the claim based on intelligence assessment without providing evidence to back it up. It comes amid a war of words between Moscow and the West over Russia's designs on Ukraine. The British government said the former Ukrainian lawmaker Yevgeny Murayev is being considered as a potential candidate to replace Volodymyr Zelensky. UK Foreign Secretary Liz Truss urged Russia to, quote, de-escalate and its campaigns of aggression and disinformation and pursue a path of diplomacy, and reiterated Britain's view that, quote, any Russian military incursion into Ukraine would be a massive strategic mistake with severe costs. Russia's foreign ministry called on the UK's Foreign Office to, quote, stop engaging in provocations and said the misinformation spread by the British Foreign Office is another evidence that these are the NATO countries led by the Anglo-Saxons that are escalating tensions around Ukraine. We call on the British Foreign Office to stop provocative activities, stop spreading nonsense, and focus on studying the history of the Tatar-Mongol yoke. Ukraine is shoring up its defenses and calling up civilians to join the military reserves in preparation for a possible Russian invasion. A third of Ukrainians say they are ready to volunteer to help the government form up to 25 brigades set to be deployed in cities across the country. They are part of the strategic defense plan, providing popular resistance in case the Ukrainian army is overwhelmed. According to U.S. Embassy, the first shipment of the United States' $200 million security support package for Ukraine has arrived in Kiev. The delivery followed U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken's visit to Kiev this week amid concerns from Ukraine and its Western allies over tens of thousands of Russian troops amassed at the border with Ukraine. Russia denies planning a new military offensive. According to the rebels and an aid organization, the death toll from a Saudi-led coalition bombing on a prison operated by Yemen's Houthi rebels has risen to at least 82 inmates. The Saada airstrike, one of the deadliest of the war in Yemen, was not the first to hit a Houthi-run prison. Sid Islam reports.
More than 80 people were killed when missiles hit the detention center in the Yemeni province of Saada, including African migrants were killed in a raid, and 3 children were among the victims in the western city of Hodeidah. A global attention has been brought to the deadly conflict in Yemen. The raids came after the drone strikes on Abu Dhabi earlier this week. On the other hand, the Saudi-led coalition stated that the detention center wasn't among the no-targeting lists agreed upon with the UN and did not meet the standards required by Geneva Third Convention for War Prisoners. Yemeni prisoner Mohammed Ali Salem was able to escape the missile fired by the warplane for the Saudi-led coalition.
When they struck Ward 8, the door opened and we walked out. The door opened from the pressure and we walked out. God granted us safety. Thank God.
The raids came after the 7-year-old conflict reached new height, with aggressions raging over control of Yemen's oil-rich districts, as well as an increase in cross-border attacks. Sultan al-Kahim, one of the injured, said he lost consciousness after the third shell fell.
I was sitting with my mates in our ward and then the warplane came and hit with the first strike. And a while later, 2 more airstrikes hit. After that, nothing.
On Saturday in Saada, hundreds of residents gathered behind lined-up corpse bags beside the detention center's concrete debris, seeking information about their relatives. Some people were looking through the bodies, hoping to find their loved ones.
Following an attack on a Syrian jail, more than 120 people have been killed in ongoing confrontations between US-backed Kurdish-led troops and the so-called ISIL group. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, headquartered in the United Kingdom, said that at least 77 fighters of the so-called ISIL and 39 Kurdish armed forces, including internal security personnel, prison guards and counter-terrorism forces, had been slain in the assault which began on Thursday. 3 monkeys were found and murdered after the vehicle transporting them to a laboratory crashed in Pennsylvania, allowing them to flee. On Saturday night, police claimed that all 100 monkeys being transported from New York to the facility in southern state of Florida had been reported. As stated by New York Times, the animals, which can cost up to $10,000 each, have been in high demand for research into coronavirus vaccines. And now Ethiopia's military is planning to enter Mekelle, the capital of Tigray province, in an attempt to eliminate rebellious forces there, a top military official says, as diplomatic efforts are underway to end a persisting conflict in the northernmost flashpoint. In an interview with state-affiliated media outlet, Ethiopian Defense Forces Deputy Army Chief General Abibao Tidesi said the country would not be at peace until the TPLF was eliminated. In 2020, November the 4th, Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed sent troops into the northern Tigray province and declared a military confrontation after the regional government attacked a federal military base there. In 2021, July the 13th until the 19th, the TPLF forces entered the neighboring Amhara and Afar regions after the Ethiopian government announced a unilateral ceasefire in June. In 2021, October the 11th, Ethiopia's National Army launched a group offensive against forces from the northern region of Tigray. And in 2021, December, the Ethiopian government forces have recaptured the strategic towns of Disi and Kombolcha in Amhara and Afar regions, their last territorial gains in the battle against fighters from the northern Tigray region. According to officials, more than 16 people were killed in a fire at a disco in an upscale section of Cameroon's capital, Yaoundé. The catastrophe occurred during the country's hosting of the AFCON football competition. Investigation into the rage are still underway, while the government has claimed that it may have been caused by fireworks performed in the club. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern announced that New Zealanders are set to face new COVID-19 restrictions after 9 cases of the Omicron variant were detected in a single family that flew to Auckland for a wedding earlier this month. The so-called red setting of the country's pandemic response includes heightened measures such as required mask wearing and limits on gatherings, and the restrictions will go into effect.
COVID-19 cases reported yesterday in the Nelson Marlborough region have now been confirmed as the Omicron variant, and a further case from the same household was confirmed late yesterday. On that basis, as we have previously signalled, the whole of New Zealand will move into the red setting of the traffic light system at 11:59 p.m. tonight, Sunday, 23 January.
A Turkish court sentenced well-known journalist Sedef Kabas to prison pending trial on a charge of insulting President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Kabas was apprehended by police early Saturday morning and taken to Istanbul's main police station before being transferred to the city's main court, which decided in favor of her official detention. And now the U.S. mission delegation to Algeria, along with Algerian representatives in the agricultural and business sectors, have been to different Algerian provinces for exploring more about Algerian production in the field of agriculture. Our special journalist Sid Islam has covered the whole event and followed these activities.
Touring different provinces in Algeria, the first station for the American mission has started from Oran by visiting various areas, such as tangerine grounds, dairy cow farms, and different types of nuts fields.
We're happy as the first day we just arrived here. Most of of course, the delegation came all the way from the U.S., some of them from California, some from Utah. And happy to be here, and came to Algiers first, and then we just landed here in Oran. I think this is a large delegation that definitely coming here to do business in Algeria.
The next destination was to Annaba in the east, where the visit covered not only the agricultural sector but tourism sector as well.
What we do is we manufacture biostimulant products that stimulate the microbiology of the soil. In many cases in farming, either climate or farming practices, that could include any kind of chemical applications, has damaged the microbiology that naturally releases soil nutrients. And many people don't understand that the biology is what makes the chemistry work.
The U.S. expedition made a long trip to Wet for exploring more about various agricultural crops in the country.
Today we were able to meet together as American businessmen and an Algerian delegation to work towards the progress of the agriculture in Algeria. There's a unlocked potential, unlimited potential here in Algeria that we are trying to unlock and reach.
As part of the agenda, Hassim Saoud was the next destination, particularly to Atlas Farming Gassitwil, where the delegation explored the area and toured the fields which contain different harvest, cultivation and dairy farms.
Algerians can produce a lot of food and food products, enough not only to fill the shelves in Algerian stores, but also to export. And I think that's why the Americans are here, is to work on the value-added processing and get production up to a capacity where they can export to Africa, into Europe, and even to the United States.
Business-to-business meetings have been introduced in all provinces that have been visited for boosting Algerian productivity for international market and acquire American expertise which can reinforce the agricultural sector.
And for more world news, let's follow these summaries by Marwa Belaiwar.
According to the Norwegian and Taliban governments, a Taliban delegation will meet with Western officials in Oslo next week to discuss human rights and humanitarian relief. This would be the Taliban's first formal visit to the West since regaining control. The Norwegian Foreign Ministry said that it had invited Taliban representatives to Oslo from January 23rd to January 25th. According to officials, at least 7 people have been killed in a bomb blast in a minibus in the western Afghan city of Herat. The head of Herat's provincial hospital, Arif Jalali, told the media that 4 women were among the 7 killed. Officials also indicate that the bomb was a sticky bomb attached to the fuel tank of the passenger vehicle. Herat Provincial Police and the Department of Culture also confirmed the bomb blast. There was no immediate claim of responsibility for the attack. Margarito Martinez, a freelance photographer, was shot and murdered on January 17th at his home in Tijuana, in the northern Mexican border state of Baja California. According to the Committee to Protect Journalists, Mexican authorities must properly examine the journalist's death and establish whether it was connected to his employment as a reporter. Family, friends, and fellow journalists came to mourn photojournalist Margarito Martinez, who was murdered on his way to work last Monday. According to the National Weather Service reports, a fire in California prompted the closure of part of Highway 1 and forced evacuations. The fire has expanded to 1,050 lands and was 20% contained of Saturday night. The fire started while offshore winds were blowing and the humidity was unusually low. Wind gusts in Northern California reached 160 kilometers per hour in some regions on Saturday morning, leading the National Weather Service to issue wind advisors. Today marks 2 years after the Chinese government imposed a strict curfew on Wuhan, the initial hub of the new coronavirus, with the Chinese authorities stepping up precautionary measures ahead of the Beijing Winter Olympics. The lockdown in Wuhan, Hubei province, began amid the world's first verified pandemic of COVID-19 in the city, and it lasts 2.5 months as the city's healthcare system crumbled as a result of the virus.
And we wrap up our news edition with this world economic news in this report by Miriam Zian.
Following the cryptocurrency market crisis, Bitcoin fell another 5.6%, falling below the $35,000 barrier for the first time since August. And the world's largest and best-known cryptocurrency fell to more than $34,000. Germany confirmed the payment of aid to Tunisia, saying it had made the choice in support of the President Kais Said's pledge to restore constitutional order and the democratic acquis. According to a statement on the German embassy's Facebook page after a meeting with Tunisian Finance Minister Siham Bourdiri Msia, German Ambassador Peter Prügel stated that the loan of 100 million euros promised in 2020 for SMEs would be disbursed in the coming days. Turkish Finance Minister Nuruddin Nebati told analysts that he expects inflation to peak at around 40% in the next months and not exceed 50% this year. According to people in the meeting, Nebati gave his most thorough forecast for consumer prices in 2022 during a consultation with 60 economists and analysts in Istanbul. After 7 million customers switched to tariffs covered by the policy, the government's price cap on energy bills was raised to a new high, affecting at least 3/4 of the British families. And according to the New York Times, the numbers of families covered by the energy price cap has increased to 22 million, up from 15 million in August.
And now it's time to have a recap of our main top stories. The UK Foreign Office said in a statement it has information that the Russian government is planning to install a pro-Russian leader in Kiev as it considers whether to invade and occupy Ukraine. According to the rebels and aid organization, the death toll from a Saudi-led coalition bombing on a prison operated by Yemen's Houthi rebels has risen to at least 82 inmates. Ethiopia's military is planning to enter Mekelle, the capital of Tigray province, in an attempt to eliminate rebellious forces there. A top military official says as diplomatic efforts are underway to end a persistent conflict in the northernmost flashpoint. And Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern announced that New Zealanders are set to face new COVID-19 restrictions after 9 cases of the Omicron variant were detected in a single family that flew to Auckland for a wedding earlier this month. That's all for me and the rest of the team. The news continues on Alt 24 News. Bye for now.